democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. We begin our show in India, where 6 men have been formally charged with the gang rape and murder of a 23-year-old student on a moving bus. The woman, identified only by the Hindi word for fearless, Nirbhaya, died from her injuries on December 29th in a hospital in Singapore, where she was flown for special treatment. Police are likely to press murder charges and could seek a death penalty sentence for the 5 adults. On Tuesday, the woman's ashes were scattered in the Ganges River, and many New Year celebrations were canceled as mourners honored her memory. The woman was mutilated so badly during the rape she needed a gut transplant, but ultimately succumbed to severe organ failure. In her memory, hundreds of thousands of people took part in a candlelight vigil and called for perpetrators to be punished.
Being a woman, I feel it's not just about these 6 people who have been, arrested. It's about everything that goes wrong against women. It's about child abuse. It's about domestic violence. It's about rape. It's about molestation, eve teasing, and a very simple thing that we can do, both men and women, is that we need to raise our voices.
Meanwhile, the father of the Delhi gang rape victim has been speaking to the BBC about his daughter. This is an excerpt from his interview.
My daughter was very adamant on whatever she wanted. When she used to go to school in class 4, there was a sweet shop on the way. And if she made up her mind to have a sweet, even the shopkeeper had to relent. The same happened in her higher education, and she was doing what she desired. I remember asking her once, "Who all are your friends?" And she replied, "Dad, it's only my books I am friends with." She always wanted to be a doctor and was sure about it. The reason why we moved from this rural place to capital Delhi was the need for a better future for our children. When my daughter was a kid, she used to hold me tight and sleep for hours. After the incident, for the first 2 days, she was unconscious. But when she regained senses, she asked the doctor to offer her something to eat. As food was not allowed, she specifically asked for toffee. The doctor asked, "Will you mind a lollipop?" She replied, "Yes." She kept talking to her mother when in hospital, in bits, of course. And one day she held her mother and whispered, "Mummy, I am sorry. I am sorry."
The gang rape case has shined a light on other instances of sexual violence in India, where 1 woman is raped every 20 minutes, according to the National Crime Registry. The registry also found 24,206 cases of rape were documented in the country in 2011, but 3/4 of the perpetrators are still at large. The conviction rates in the rape cases in India have decreased from 46% in 1971 to 26% in 2012.
Meanwhile, anti-rape protesters in India are bracing record-breaking cold to continue their calls for legal reforms to increase punishment for rapists and prevent legal cases from languishing. Protesters are not only calling for increased sensitivity towards survivors of sexual violence, but also an expansion of the very definition of rape under Indian law to include crimes varying from physical dehumanization to penetrative assault. They're also calling for laws prohibiting marital rape, which India does not currently have, as well as more sensitive forensic procedures during medical examination of survivors of sexual assault. Well, for more, we're joined right now by several guests. From India via Democracy Now! Video stream, we go directly to Kavita Krishnan, the secretary of the All India Progressive Women's Association, one of the main protest organizers. Last week, Krishnan led protesters outside the Delhi chief minister's residence when the police charged at them with water cannons. We welcome you to Democracy Now! Can you begin by telling us what happened, why this particular horrific rape on a moving bus has sparked so much outcry in India?
It's difficult to understand exactly why this particular case struck such a chord, because there have been so many other incidents. Of course, this incident was particularly graphic violence, but There have been other terrible incidents as well, including incidents in Delhi. But I think it was a cumulative effect, an accumulated feeling of anger and outrage at the impunity enjoyed by perpetrators of sexual violence and at the imposed insecurity, at the restrictions that insecurity imposes on women. And it all burst out in this, perhaps because this young woman was doing something so normal. She boarded a bus to go home after watching a film with her friend. And I think that somehow struck such a huge chord because everyone identified with her and felt that in their own situation, Delhi has a huge number of young people coming to study, coming to do a variety of courses, or coming to work in a number of casualized, contractualized jobs, insecure jobs. And I think they all felt a deep connection with this nameless person. You mentioned her name, I mean the name that has been used for her, but I think that's just a name, a tag that was used by a couple of newspapers. But for many people, she was nameless and they choose to refer to her without her name, without seeking to know her name or without seeking to personalize her by giving her some other name. Because I think she was, in a sense, every woman and she could have been any of them.
Could you talk also about the response of major leaders in the country and to what degree that had an impact on the size and the continuation of the protests?
Yes, I think that the governments in India, in the states as well as at the central government, and the police and the entire machinery of law enforcement are used to responding with great apathy and indifference to the entire issue of violence against women. And sexual violence in particular has always been greeted. Virtually every case is greeted with a chorus of victim blaming, not just from voices in society, but from people in authority. It's a routine response from the police, and there are politicians across the board who have indulged in rape culture remarks. And I think that in this case also, the apathy and indifference and the refusal to take responsibility and be accountable to what happened to this young woman, because it was deeply felt that this bus was a private bus which had violated multiple rules and regulations, and yet it was being allowed to run amok on Delhi streets, picking up passengers, robbing them, or indulging in violence against women. And the police knew of its existence. They maintained a diary. The police, the traffic authorities in Delhi maintained a diary. I mean, this bus was traced through a diary which maintains records of bribes taken from private bus owners and so on. And that is how they traced this bus. So it goes to show that they knew this bus was plying. They knew this bus had no business to be on the streets in this way. They knew it was violating, it was behaving it had gone rogue, and yet they were taking bribes and allowing it to ply. So I think all that accumulated. Since then, what has added fuel to the fire is remarks, for instance, like the member of parliament from the ruling party, the son of India's president. He made a remark about the protesters. He said, oh, these are dented and painted women, and these are not real students. I know what students are like. These are people who go to discotheques. These are beautiful, pretty, pretty women, and we should not take them seriously because their protest is just something fashionable. And similarly, there was another leader from the ruling party.
We actually have a secret. We actually have a secret recording of a policeman speaking. I want to turn to an expose by Tehelka, the New Delhi-based online weekly news magazine. In April, the magazine's reporters secretly recorded conversations with 30 Delhi police officers who blamed women for being raped. The police named everything from fashionable clothes to having boyfriends to visiting bars to drinking alcohol to working alongside men as justifications for the rapes. Here's what one police officer was secretly recorded saying about a rape victim.
If a girl asks for a birthday party and is alone with 2 or 3 boys and sees that they are drinking, she knows what is likely to happen. When she herself goes for such a party, she can't complain of rape. How can you call it rape when she is sitting there drinking with them?
And that was a secret recording of a police officer, Kavita Krishnan. If you could further talk about this, the attitudes, and what you're trying to have enacted.
Yes, I think you're very correct. This was a major expose, and it's all the more telling that no action was taken against the 17 police personnel from the Delhi and National Capital Region of India who were recorded making these kind of remarks, because it is taken for granted. There have been top police officers, very senior police officers, very famous police officers who have made absolutely identical remarks, saying that sexual violence and rapes are increasing in Delhi because women are wearing fashionable clothing. So I think what we are seeking is that an acknowledgement of the deep-seated gender bias and that is existing in the police force, in the laws, in the entire investigative mechanism, in the judiciary, and of course in society. And we want a comprehensive set of actions to correct these, because they're not even acknowledged now publicly. So what we are seeking is, to begin with, is that there are more than 100,000 pending pending sexual violence cases in the country, many of them which have dragged on for years, for nearly more than a decade. So we want that these should be addressed on a priority basis, that they should be brought to court and heard speedily, and that some closure should be there here. And in the police system, we are wanting that there should be a standard operating procedure, a protocol for responding to crimes against women, not just sexual violence, but the so-called honor crimes or domestic violence or other forms of violence against women. And that there should be a protocol and which is publicly displayed in all the police stations, and there should be some redressal, some way in which a woman who goes to a police station and finds that the police officer does not record her complaint or does not respond to her correct, she should have a way to complain and ensure that he does not remain in his post anymore. Because his views, he may have he may have all these feudal and patriarchal views about women, but if he is a public officer, he has to be accountable to a public code of conduct, an accepted code of conduct, a democratic code of conduct.
We're speaking with Kavita Krishnan, Secretary of the All India Progressive Women's Association, one of the lead organizers of the mass protests after the rape and now death of a young woman student on a moving bus. When we come back from break, we'll also be joined, in addition to Kavita, by Elora Chowdhury, who is a professor of women's studies at the University of Massachusetts in Boston. Then, thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.